Welcome to Blue Nile. We hope you are enjoying solving past questions with us. Let's take a look at a big question. We are going to look at a question called Chaeer Blossom. This is question 4 from the June 2015 exam and is for 10 marks. This question covers the area of control system deficiencies and recommended controls. It focuses on the purchasing system for a client, being Chaeer Blossom, and the aim is to recommend how they improve their control systems to reduce the risk of fraud and error. With any scenario question, timing is important, as you must factor in time to absorb the scenario. The understanding of the scenario included is critical impasse in this question. You should allocate 1.8 minutes for every mark, and therefore around 18 minutes should be spent. It may be worth pausing the video at this point and printing off the exam question. That way you can follow the scenario as we talk through it. Clear and efficient communication is needed for your answer. You must be able to explain your points properly, which is why question practice is so important. As with any question containing a scenario, it is important to plan the answer and use the information that has been provided. Reading the requirements before the scenario really helps you focus on the important parts when it is time to digest it. This is crucial given the time you have in the exam. Let's now break down the requirements. The requirement is split into two, Part 1 and Part 2. It states that, in respect of the purchasing system of Chaeer Blossom, Part 1, identify and explain 5 deficiencies, and Part 2, recommend a control to address each of these deficiencies. Both requirements are linked to one another, and this is very much a classic controls deficiency question from the examining team. It states that the total marks will be split equally between each part, and therefore with 5 marks each, the requirement should take you no more than 9 minutes each. The approach should be to review the scenario in detail. You now know what the question wants, so it's now time to review for evidence of control deficiencies in the purchasing system. You should underline or highlight the areas of the scenario that suggest there is a deficiency. I usually also number these so I can clearly see how many I have found. You can then make notes in the margins to assist you in planning your explanation of the deficiency. Both requirements are linked. Therefore, when you present your answer in the exam, you should consider setting up 2 columns and head them up, deficiency and recommended control, making reference to the requirement numbers. Then in terms of marks being allocated, for Part 1, it asks you to identify and explain. You will be awarded half a mark for copying the deficiency from the scenario. You will then be awarded a further half a mark for being able to explain in your own words why this would be a deficiency for Chaeer. For Part 2, it asks for a recommended control. 1 mark will be awarded for a realistic control that could assist in improving the deficiency found. After review of the scenario, here are the 5 deficiencies I'm going to use for my answer. The requisition forms submitted to the purchasing ordering department do not require authorization. Current inventory levels are not indicated when goods are requested. Orders are made with suppliers from an authorized suppliers list, which was last updated 2 years ago. When goods are received, the goods are checked against the dispatch note, but not the original order. And invoices received are stored when received and only paid 60 days after the invoice is input into the system. Using these deficiencies, let us now structure our answer for Parts 1 and 2. Firstly, the requisition forms are submitted to the purchase ordering department, but do not require authorization. This could lead to goods being ordered incorrectly. For example, orders could be made fraudulently, such as goods ordered for personal use. The recommendation should be to ensure requisitions submitted are authorized by the production manager or director before orders are made. The scenario then tells us that there is no reference to current inventory levels when materials are requested. This suggests inventory levels are not reviewed at the point of order, which could lead to unnecessary purchasing costs and increased inventory storage costs if the order was not needed. The recommendation should be to ensure there are minimum and maximum inventory levels in the system, and this should be reviewed by the purchase ordering clerk when they review the requisition form. The orders are made up with suppliers on the approved suppliers list, but this was last updated 24 months ago. There could be suppliers still on this approved list that are no longer suitable to trade with. This could lead to orders being made for poor quality or expensive materials. The recommendation should be to ensure the approved supplier list is reviewed and updated by the purchasing manager based on current trading relationships. This should then be regularly reviewed and updated going forward. In the warehouse department, the goods are then received. They only appear to review the dispatch note at this point, see if the goods agree, and physically inspect goods. What they do not do is compare the goods received to the original order to ensure it agrees. This could lead to incorrect goods received or incorrect quantities, which could delay production. You should recommend that the warehouse have a copy of the purchase order, so they can compare the detail to the goods received as they come in and ensure they are the goods originally ordered. The final paragraph makes reference to the purchase invoice received. The purchase ledger clerk stores them in a manual file, then inputs into the system. It is 60 days after the invoice is input into the system that the invoice is eventually paid. This could lead to Chaeer breaking supplier terms if their payment deadline is before this, which could affect their ability to buy goods on credit. It also affects their ability to take settlement discounts with this current system. You should recommend that the policy of making payments after 60 days should be reviewed. They should be able to identify settlement discounts and take advantage of them to save money and ensure suppliers are paid within their payment terms. There are other deficiencies that can be drawn from this scenario, and you should review the ACCA suggested answer on their website as part of your exam preparation for this area. With the 5 deficiencies now identified, explained, and presented clearly, the answer is now complete. Please remember, to be successful in this type of question, we need to plan the approach and ensure we have identified how long is needed for each part. Use headings to introduce your answers and space out your points, so it is clear for the marker where the marks can be allocated. Finally, if there is a scenario, use it. This information was given to you for a reason, and at F8 they are trying to see if you can apply your knowledge to the given scenario and not just be able to remember the facts. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you and good luck.